New RVs look perfect on the lot. Shiny walls, clean cabinets, everything feels factory fresh. But here's the weird part. A lot of RV problems don't show up after years of use. They show up the very first day you actually use it. A small leak, a slide that goes out crooked, a fridge that won't cool, lights that randomly cut off. Stuff that makes you think, wait, how is this happening on a brand new rig? In this video, we're going through the top 10 day one problems that cause most of that early frustration, what they usually look like, and what you should check before a tiny issue turns into a big repair. Number 1. Water leaks. The fastest way for a brand new RV to feel worn out is water getting where it shouldn't. A lot of leaks show up on day one because RVs are moving boxes. The body flexes, the roof has openings for vents and antennas, and every window, hatch, and marker light depends on sealant that was applied by a person on a fast production line. Then the unit gets hauled from the factory to the dealer, and all that vibration can tug on trim and seams before you ever camp. The frustrating part is that water rarely drips straight down. It can travel along framing, wires, and insulation, so the wet spot you see inside might be a few feet away from where the leak actually starts. That's why it's just a small drip is a risky mindset in an RV. On many laminated walls, trapped moisture can also cause delamination, those wavy bubbles in fiberglass, so a tiny leak can turn into a big cosmetic and structural issue. A smart day one check is a controlled water test. Instead of blasting the whole rig and hoping you notice something, test one zone at a time: roof edges and corners, then windows, then marker lights, then the front and rear caps, then around any slide-out openings. While water is running on one area, have someone inside with a bright flashlight checking the matching corner. Inside upper cabinets, around window frames, in ceiling seams, and under the bed platform at the front. If you find moisture, don't just wipe it and move on. Take photos, note exactly where you were spraying, and keep checking after the next drive, because flex can reopen the same gap. Also pay attention to silent leak sources that can show up immediately. Loose exterior shower fittings, the water heater access door not sealing, the fridge roof vent cap, and anything that was screwed through the wall like ladder mounts or awning brackets. The goal on day one isn't to become a sealant expert. It's to catch problems before they soak into structure. Once you're confident water stays outside where it belongs, the next big weak point is anything that moves in and out, especially slide-outs. Number 2. Slide-outs and seals. Slide-outs add space, but they also add motors, tracks, gears, and long rubber seals that must stay aligned while the RV flexes. Day one slide issues are common because the mechanism might be adjusted at the factory. Then the RV sits, travels, and gets cycled a few times on a dealer lot. The result can be uneven movement, a slide that looks slightly crooked on one side, a grinding sound, or seals that flip the wrong way and leave a gap. Even when the slide moves, small alignment issues can cause bigger problems later, like water intrusion, torn seals, or a slide that starts walking out of square over time. When you test a slide for the first time, run it all the way out, pause, then bring it all the way in. Listen for a steady, even sound, instead of one side struggling. Look at the top corners from outside, and check whether the slide box sits evenly against the body. Inside, check the floor at the slide edge for rubbing marks, and check that the interior trim isn't pulling away. A very common "it's broken" moment is actually low voltage. Many slide systems hate low battery power. If the battery is weak or the RV isn't getting a solid charge, slides can move slow, stall, or get out of sync. Also check the seals with your hands and eyes. The outer wiper seals should lay flat and point the right direction so they wipe water away, not pull it in. The bulb seals should look evenly compressed when the slide is closed. If you can see daylight in a corner, or if a seal looks twisted, that's worth documenting immediately. Don't assume it will settle in. Slides don't usually fix themselves. They either stay correct or they drift worse. Once the slide is square and sealed, electrical systems are next, because many mystery RIV problems come down to power. Number 3. Power glitches. RVs have two electrical systems sharing the same walls, and the labels don't always make that obvious. The 12-volt side runs interior lights, fans, control boards for appliances, slides, and the water pump. The 120-volt side is like a house. Wall outlets, microwave, air conditioner, and the converter, the box that turns shore power into battery charging, and 12-volt supply. Some RVs also have an inverter, the box that turns battery power into household-style power for certain outlets. In plain terms, 12-volt is the RV's battery world, and 120-volt is the house-style world. Day one electrical problems are often small but confusing. A loose ground wire, a connector that wasn't fully seated, a breaker that tripped during transport, or a GFCI outlet that's doing its job and shutting off power because it senses a fault. A quick way to keep your sanity is to separate the symptoms by system. If the ceiling lights are dim, slides move slow, or the water pump sounds strained, think 12-volt first, battery disconnect switch position, battery voltage, and the 12-volt fuse panel. If wall outlets are dead, but the lights are fine, think 120-volt first, campground pedestal, shore power cord, main breaker, and especially the GFCI reset, the outlet with test and reset buttons. Many RVs hide the primary GFCI in the bathroom or kitchen, and one trip can knock it out. The second big day one issue is charging behavior. If you're plugged in but the battery seems to be draining anyway, the converter may not be charging, a fuse may be blown, or a battery disconnect may be cutting off part of the system. Also watch for inverter confusion. Some rigs power only a few outlets from the inverter, not all of them, so a dead outlet may simply be on the wrong circuit for battery power. Some have a transfer switch that decides whether power comes from shore or generator, and a loose connection there can cause weird on and off behavior. On day one, it's normal to feel like nothing matches the labels if the dealer didn't do a full walkthrough. The practical move is to test in a controlled way. Shore power on, then off. Generator on if you have it. And note what changes. Electrical issues feel scary, but a lot of day one failures are basic connection and labeling problems. Once power is stable, the next system that reveals hidden mistakes is plumbing, because water pressure finds every weak fitting fast. Number 4. Water system leaks. RV plumbing is usually flexible PEX, the plastic waterline used in most RVs, with crimped fittings, and it's solid when it's assembled correctly. Day one problems happen when a fitting wasn't crimped fully, a clamp is slightly off, a drain trap was assembled crooked, or a connection loosened during the drive from the factory. The first time you pressurize the system, those weak points show themselves. Start with a basic routine. Fill the fresh tank, turn on the pump, open one faucet at a time, and then crawl around with a flashlight while the pump is running. If the pump cycles on and off when all faucets are closed, that's a clue. It can mean a small leak, a loose fitting, or a check valve that isn't sealing. Check the water pump area, under sinks, behind the shower wall access panel, around the toilet water line, and near the water heater. It also helps to check the outside compartments and the underbelly for dampness right away, because leaks can run down and hide. City water can reveal different problems than the pump. On city water, pressure is higher and steadier, so tiny drips show up at the outside inlet, behind the shower, under sinks, and at the toilet connection. That's why a pressure regulator is such a standard RV item. It helps protect fittings that were never meant for unpredictable high pressure. On day one, also confirm the water heater is set up correctly. Many RVs are delivered winterized, and the bypass valves can be left in the wrong position. If hot water never seems to fill the lines, or you get weird temperature swings, the bypass setup is one of the first things to verify. Drain issues show up early too. Slow sinks can be a venting problem, a kinked hose, or a trap that was installed at a bad angle. A shower that doesn't drain can be as simple as a drain line sagging. None of that sounds dramatic, but leaks behind cabinets are exactly what causes hidden floor rot later. If you find a drip, don't just tighten and forget it. Document it and keep checking after the next drive. Once water is flowing correctly, the next day one headache is appliances, because RV appliances work, but they have rules. Number 5. Appliance startup issues. RV appliances are compact, and they depend on clean airflow, steady power, and correct setup. A brand new fridge might not cool on the first day, a furnace might not ignite, or a water heater might refuse to run on propane, even though everything looks new. Often, the root cause is boring. Propane lines can have air in them after sitting empty, so the first few ignition attempts fail until the air is pushed out. That's why it helps to run the stove burners for a bit. If the stove burns steady, propane is actually reaching the appliances. The fridge is a classic day one complaint, especially the absorption-style RV fridge that uses heat, electric or propane, to make cold. It cools slowly compared to a home fridge, and it needs to be reasonably level to work right. It also still needs 12-volt power for its control board, even when running on propane, so a weak battery can make a propane problem look like a fridge failure. A practical day one approach is to pre-cool the fridge on shore power before you load it, then verify it can hold temperature overnight. If it can't, check door seals, vents, and whether the fridge is actually getting the power mode you think it is. Water heaters create their own day one drama. Many models can run on propane, electric, or both. The biggest rookie mistake is turning on the electric element when the tank is empty, which can damage the element quickly. On day one, confirm the tank is full by opening a hot faucet until water runs smoothly. Then choose one heat source and verify it heats properly. Furnaces are similar. They need good 12-volt power to run the blower. And if voltage dips, the furnace can start and stop or lock out. Small appliance issues also happen because of shipping and setup. Sometimes a vent cover isn't seated right, a cabinet screw rubs against a hose, or a dealer forgot to open a valve. The goal on day one is to test every appliance on purpose, not just discover problems late at night. Once appliances are basically behaving, comfort depends on HVAC, and airflow problems can make a new RV feel badly designed even when it's just an installation issue. Number 6. HVAC airflow issues. HVAC trouble can show up on the first trip because you don't really know how an RV handles air until you run it in real weather. On day one, the air conditioner might cool poorly, freeze up, or sound like it's rattling. Weak cooling is often about airflow, not the compressor. A clogged filter, a vent that's closed, a duct that came loose, or an air box that isn't sealed well can reduce airflow enough that the AC coil gets too cold and starts icing. When icing happens, the air output gets weaker and weaker, and people think the AC died when it really needs airflow fixed and time to thaw. Ducted systems can have their own day one problems. If a duct connection popped loose during transport, you'll feel strong air at one vent and almost nothing at another. Sometimes a register is blocked by insulation or sawdust from construction. Sometimes the return air path is restricted because furniture or a filter cover is installed wrong. These are small assembly issues, but they completely change comfort. Heating has similar simple but annoying failures. If the furnace runs but you don't get much heat, check that vents aren't blocked by rugs, bins, or cushions. If it won't ignite, it may still be propane air in the line, low voltage, or a safety switch that isn't satisfied because airflow is restricted. A lot of modern RVs also use heat pumps in the rooftop unit. Heat pumps are great in mild weather, but they don't behave like a furnace when it's truly cold, and that mismatch can feel like a failure on day one if you're expecting hot air immediately. Noise and vibration are another clue. A rattly rooftop unit can be a loose shroud or mounting bolt, and it's better to catch that early before it cracks plastic. If you hear a rhythmic thump, that can be a fan imbalance or debris in the blower wheel. Document and report. Don't just accept they all do that. Even if the interior systems are perfect, the RV still has to drive straight, stop confidently, and ride smoothly. And that's why many day one failures are actually underneath the rig, in the chassis, suspension, and tires. Number 7. Tires and suspension. A lot of new RV frustration has nothing to do with the living space and everything to do with the rolling hardware underneath. Day one problems can include vibrations, wandering steering on motorhomes, trailer sway, or uneven tire wear that starts surprisingly fast. Tires are a big one. An RV can sit for months, sometimes longer, and tires can develop flat spots or age in the sun before you buy it. On delivery day, Check the tire date codes, inspect the sidewalls, and make sure tire pressures aren't just whatever the dealer set. The right pressure depends on how much weight the tire is actually carrying. Suspension hardware can also be loose from the start. Leaf spring shackles, U-bolts, shock mounts, and sway bar links can loosen with early miles, especially after the first long highway run. That's why having lug nuts and critical suspension fasteners checked to spec is such a common recommendation after delivery. It's not about paranoia. It's because the first few trips are when everything settles, and small movement turns into bigger problems if nobody checks. Motorhomes add alignment and steering feel to the list. If the rig pulls to one side, feels nervous in crosswinds, or needs constant correction, it may need a proper alignment at its real loaded weight, not just whatever setting it had empty. Trailers can leave the lot with axles slightly out of alignment too, which shows up as the trailer dog tracking or tires scuffing. A simple but underrated day one move is getting actual weights, then setting tire pressure based on the tire maker's load chart and confirming you're within axle and tire ratings. It turns this RV tows badly into a clear, fixable checklist. Once the rig rolls correctly, the next set of day one failures shows up at the connection between tow vehicle and trailer, brakes, lights, and the whole electrical hookup. Number 8, brakes and lights. First day towing problems usually come from the connection points: the 7-pin plug, the brake controller settings, and the breakaway system, the small switch and battery that apply trailer brakes if the trailer separates. It's common to have running lights that flicker, turn signals that work intermittently, or trailer brakes that feel like they're barely helping. Sometimes it's a poor ground wire, sometimes it's a pin that isn't making good contact, and sometimes it's the tow vehicle's controller not being set up correctly for that trailer. Before your first highway trip, do a slow, controlled test in a safe area. Confirm all exterior lights: running lights, brake lights, turn signals, and hazards. If anything is inconsistent, start at the plug and the ground, because that's where most intermittent problems live. For brakes, the goal is simple. When you use the manual brake control, you should feel the trailer slow in a predictable way, not surge or feel absent. If it feels wrong, don't assume that's normal for a new trailer. Brakes that aren't working well on day one usually stay annoying until someone sets them up correctly. Also check the small safety items that people forget on day one: breakaway cable routing that won't snag, a charged breakaway battery, and safety chains that aren't dragging. Dealers sometimes rush delivery and skip these details, and the owner pays the price later. Towing hookups also affect comfort. A poorly adjusted weight distribution hitch, the hitch that uses spring bars to share weight between axles, an incorrect ball height, or a misset sway control can make a good trailer feel unstable. If your first tow feels sketchy, it's often a setup issue, not a bad trailer, and it's worth getting a proper adjustment rather than fighting it. Once the RV can tow and stop confidently, you run into the campsite systems that are supposed to make life easy: leveling, stabilizing, and everything that keeps the rig steady and square. Number 9, leveling problems. A lot of owners find out on the first campsite that leveling systems are more sensitive than they expected. Auto-level jacks can throw error codes, refuse to retract, or level the rig in a way that looks wrong. Manual stabilizers can bind, feel gritty, or wobble because they were installed slightly out of square. Day one causes are usually straightforward: low battery voltage on electric systems, hydraulic fluid that's low, a sensor that needs calibration, or a jack that didn't travel smoothly because the RV was stored with dirt or road film on the shaft. One common misunderstanding is mixing up leveling and stabilizing. Stabilizers are meant to reduce movement, not lift and level the RV. If you try to level with stabilizers, you can bend hardware or strip gears, and then it really will be broken on day one. Leveling should come first, usually by positioning the RV and using blocks under tires when needed, then stabilizing after the rig is already level. With auto-level systems, it helps to learn what home and 0 point mean for your controller, because an incorrect baseline can make the RV chase the wrong level. Slide support is another day one confusion point. Some owners want to add support jacks under the slide room, but many modern slides are engineered to be unsupported, and adding supports can actually twist the slide box. The safe rule is simple. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for your exact slide type, not advice that was true for a different RV years ago. If jacks won't retract, don't keep hammering the button and hoping. Low voltage can cause partial movement that triggers faults. Check power first, then follow the manufacturer's steps for your system, or get dealer support while the issue is clearly a warranty problem. Once the mechanical systems work, the final bucket of day one failures is the stuff that makes the RV feel cheaply built. Doors, latches, trim, furniture, and all the little pieces that get shaken loose. Number 10. Loose hardware. The most visible day one problems are the ones you can see and touch. Cabinet doors that won't stay shut, drawers that slide open, trim that separates, window shades that bind, a shower door that rattles, or an entry door that doesn't seal evenly. These happen because RV interiors are built light on purpose. Thin panels, staples, and small screws keep weight down, but they also mean hardware can loosen quickly with road vibration. Even a brand new unit can arrive with misaligned latches simply because the body twisted slightly during transport and the door opening shifted by a few millimeters. The day one move here is a slow, methodical walkthrough where you open, close, and latch everything. Check every window, every roof vent, every baggage door, every cabinet, and every step. Watch for almost right problems: a latch that barely catches, a drawer slide that's rubbing, a cabinet hinge that's loose enough to let the door sag. These are the things that turn into broken parts after 2 trips if you ignore them. Also, check the awning operation and the entry steps, because binding or wobble can be a loose mount that needs attention early. This is also where documentation matters. Create a punch list with photos and short videos and keep it factual: what you saw, when you saw it, and what conditions you were in. If you're taking delivery, it's normal to ask for a written "we owe" list for anything not fixed on the spot. If you've already taken it home, send the list to the dealer quickly and keep communication in writing. Fit and finish issues may feel cosmetic, but they can also reveal bigger problems, like doors that leak, drawers that jam, or wiring that rubs because a panel isn't secured.